Alright, so right now we're going to kind of show some basic composting. We built this pile a few days ago when it was just about 30 degrees outside. Right now it's about 15, and this pile is just starting to heat up inside on the inside. We've got some manure and some wood chips and a little bit of straw mixed in, and I'll show you how to build one and what to look for and all that kind of good stuff. One of the hardest things for most people to get, it's very key to making compost, is carbon. This can be basically any brown material, so hay, straw, wood chips, leaves, just about anything is stable and will just sit there. Obviously manure is not carbon, that's nitrogen, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So right here we've got our wood chip pile. It's pretty frozen right now, but that's not going to matter too much because the pile's already heating. So the microbes that are heating the pile in there, they'll just thaw this out and get right to it. So I'm just going to fill my wheelbarrow up and we'll go put some carbon in the greenhouse. So a lot of people make composting sound a lot harder than it is. I'll just keep it simple. Basically, you need kind of a mix of carbon and nitrogen to compost. I mean, too much nitrogen won't compost. Too much carbon, it's going to be a pile of wood chips. Just going to sit there. So what happens when composting, these little microbes eat the material and produce massive amounts of heat. We expect this compost pile to get up to about 170 Fahrenheit for several weeks, and then probably drop down to about 150 for pretty well the rest of the winter, which is about 5 months. So what I've got here is mostly horse manure with some straw bedding mixed in. You can see there's a lot of heat and vapor coming off of it right now. That's it eating the straw, the carbon in the straw. But there wasn't enough straw in it, so we have to add a ton of wood chips to create the right balance. So this, I'm going to heat it up super fast, but I mean, it's almost done already. The straw is pretty well disappearing. So manure has a lot of nitrogen. Obviously it's very good for composting, but some other things are food scraps. Green materials have nitrogen, but not as much as manure. So if you were composting with green materials, you wouldn't put near as many wood chips in it. So I'm just going to make a layer of manure here, and then we'll throw about a layer of manure about this thick, and we'll throw about that much wood chips on it, and then the same manure again, and we'll get some rabbit manure and scrap hay in there, and that'll kind of help mix it up and create some real nice compost. So I got some wood chips up on the manure now. I can put it on another layer if I want, but basically kind of something that you need to watch for when you're doing this, especially if you're using manure, is the smell. If the smell's so strong, kind of an ammonia smell, it's making your eyes water, you're losing nitrogen. So good composting shouldn't smell at all. It should just kind of happen, and no strong manure smells or ammonia smells or rotten smells like some people's compost piles. And part of that is to do with how hot it gets and breaks everything down. Obviously we've got a pretty big pile going here. It's getting about 5 feet tall and about 6 feet wide in some places. I just want to say a little bit about kind of critical mass that it takes for a compost pile to really heat up. Generally small, any pile under about 4 feet by 4 feet by 4 feet, a cube, will not reach the high temperatures that a big pile like this will. So it won't break down quite as fast. It'll still compost, but if you really want to get some heat going, you need to get more than about a 4 foot cube. About a 4 foot cube or bigger, and that'll really kind of boost the temperature up over 100 Fahrenheit, and I mean break down large bones, animal carcasses. You can break down just about anything in a big compost pile. Compost is kind of like some variation. Throw some food scraps in there. We got some hay and rabbit manure that we're going to throw in there. We'll throw, old soup bones, all sorts of stuff. You don't just want manure and wood chips. That tends to kind of make a real hot compost pile, but not last very long. Heat kind of dies out quick. So I'm just going to scoop up some hay and rabbit manure, and we'll kind of add that to the mix. It'll help it compost better. Alright, so talk a little bit about layering here. You see we got a nice layer of straw and rabbit manure mixed in with some wood chips on top. This is very important to allow air to get down the layer, so the microbes continue to get oxygen and compost. You compost with aerobic microbes. The ones that make a stink are the anaerobic ones that can live without oxygen. So we want aerobic ones. So this is another reason why you don't want a pile of all just one or two things. So we'll get a good layer going here. Some wood chips on top, throw some manure on that, another layer of wood chips, some more hay and straw, and then some more wood chips, and the air will just get sucked right in there as they use it up, and it'll keep that compost pile just going like a house of fire all winter. I found some finished compost with some stuff that we sifted through to start our garden plants in next spring. There's still a few little wood chips in here, but generally they're not super common. They're partly broken down. This one's real soft and kind of beaten up, but mostly there's just black crumbly loam. Smells real good. I mean, you could eat it and not get sick. It's great stuff. Plants love it. So right here I have my handy dandy compost thermometer. Certainly not necessary for someone who's just starting to compost, but we've got such a big pile, we'd kind of like to see what's going on inside. So I'll stick this down inside the pile and wait a couple minutes, and the little dial will zoom around and show me how hot it is. Right now it was saying it was about 80 Fahrenheit, and we put this compost in here about 40 Fahrenheit about 3 days ago. So it's already jumped up that much, and I know this part's doing good, so I don't really care if the rest went in frozen, because this part will thaw the rest out. So this pile, I'm expecting probably 4 or 5 more days, should hit about 170. That's hot enough that you got to stick your finger in it and you can't hold it in there for more than about 20 seconds.